Welcome to the Two and a Half Citizens podcast. I'm Zen.
I'm Ruben.
And so I got to talk about the number one thing that's on all of our as far as musically, whenever I was looking at my version of the Spotify Wrapped, which is the replay.
Yeah.
Apple called me the F slur. Because of the way that like all the female artists are the ones that like I'm listening to the most. So
SZA no way.
Yeah, I mean literally it was Lil Durk, Drake, and then it was like Kehlani, Jessie Reyes, SZA, like just nothing but female R&B artists afterwards. So with that being said, SZA just put out an album, which is a crazy thing because she hasn't put out an album in 5 years. 2017, she put that Control album out. Has songs like Love Galore with Travis Scott, a bunch of crazy records that were like taking over just everything. So with that being said, everyone's been waiting on an album for her for so long. I call her the female Frank Ocean because she has a cult-like fan base. She takes forever to put out albums. She's like very aloof. People don't really know what's going on in her life. And she's very emotional. She's talking about like real life things, and people really feel like they know her based on these songs. So 2017, she puts that album out. From there, she basically did the Frank Ocean thing where she like, everyone's like, where's the album? Where's the album? Where's the album? And then she'd put like a single out, and then it would just dominate for a long time. And then nothing would happen. And then nothing would go on. She'd put a feature out. It would dominate. And what I started finding out is that the reason for this, she's on TDE, which is Top Dog Entertainment, where Kendrick Lamar was on. You have JID. You have, a lot of people on TDE. They are looking at the numbers and they're saying, hey, every so often, everyone gets in their feelings and brings Control back up to the top, to like the Billboard Top 100. And every time she puts out a single, people go crazy. And then they want more, so they just go back to listening to Control. So they have no incentive to release new music when they're still eating heavily off of the previous project for the last 5 years. So they're starving their fan base just enough to keep on getting all of this.
You think this or you know this?
This is, they haven't came out and said this, but people who are very deep in the industry and understand how it works have come out to say that this is the reason SZA doesn't put out music like that. Because if you look at the way Top Dog,
so why did she do it now?
Well, it's about that time. It's been 5 years. The whole album rollout's been coming up. And the thing with her is she has like this very like relatable type of thing where she says things that are brash and like, says things like, I've been secretly fucking your homeboy for years or for months or whatever the fuck it is. She's like the female Drake is what some people are now starting to say as far as like content and the things that she's talking about and the feelings that people get invoked from this. It's been, she's known to be like this normal type of girl. And all of a sudden the body's been looking crazy. She's been looking wild. And everyone's been like, yo, shouts out to SZA's BBL. And people are like, how are you going to accuse her of getting a BBL? That's just so disrespectful. Like, this and this and this on her. She don't ever be, whatever the case may be. The album comes out. She goes, big booty, look like it's natural. It's not. So on the record, she came out and told everybody, hey, yo, it's a BBL. Just so everyone's aware. This album is insane. It is.
Oh, you've already heard it?
Oh, have I already heard it? Albums come out on Friday. We're recording this on Saturday. I woke up in the morning as I'm getting ready. I'm playing music out of my speaker. I listen to it all the way through.
Okay.
I get into the car. I listen to it all the way through again.
Okay.
Then I put my AirPods on and listen to it all the way through again. And then just to feel like I'm prepared for today, I played it one more time all the way through today.
Okay.
So wow. I've heard this album a few times, if you want to say.
Would you consider it like album of the year then, if you've heard it that many times?
Album of the year for me. And the thing is, I've noticed the more and more that I get so excited about music and then you hear it, you always say it's mid. Album of the year.
Let's keep going.
Album of the year for me right now is Her Loss. That is album of the year for me right now.
No, it's
It is the
not.
best album to come out this year.
No, it's, you know what came
Second
out this
place,
year?
second place is Future's album that came out this year.
You're high. Name the top three so I can just roast you right now. This is ridiculous.
Third is this album that just came out right now. Is SZA's
Okay.
album.
All right.
So top three is Her Loss, Future's I Never Liked You, and SZA's SOS. That's what it
Bad
is.
Bunny. Bad Bunny
That
released
was that this year? Was that
That
this
was
year?
this year.
Okay. That's number
It's already
okay,
wrong.
that's number one.
Okay.
That is number one objectively.
Yeah.
On
Not
all
objectively. It's a fact.
yeah, that's what I'm
it's a
saying.
fact.
Objectively, it's a factual better
Is that
than
what
every
objectively
album.
means? Oh.
Yeah, because subjectively would be like opinionated.
All right. Well, I'm learning. new
Objectively, I
things.
think is more like I mean, I could be wrong. I've been saying that a lot though, so I really hope I'm not.
I always use subject, whatever. All right.
Subjectively would be like it's subject to change or something.
All right. That's number one. We can agree. So
No-
your number two is Drake.
So number two is Her Loss, yes, because I've been listening the whole summer. I've been listening to that Bad Bunny album. I saw the tour live. It was perfectly performed.
Mhm.
Like it's pretty much unmatched. That album is number one.
I agree.
Next is Her Loss. Next, so top four. Next is Future's I Never Liked You. And then I may put SZA's album above Future's album. Future's album is really good though,
Okay.
but it's a kind of a tie on that fourth spot for Future and SZA. But
I'll listen to it.
I don't know how you
My number two was Kendrick's album, which also came out this year.
that came and went so fucking quick. What song do you listen to it actively from it right now?
None.
Right.
But
So to
I
me,
don't
it was
think
a
that
piece
the
of-
replayability of something. I guess it does. Okay,
It does.
That's fine.
To me,
All
yeah,
right.
sure, it was
Then
a piece of art.
then my number two is Freddie Gibbs' album. Sold
I'm
So
not gonna
Separately.
lie. I'm not gonna
It's
lie.
So yesterday I heard. You heard SZA's album 3 times. Yesterday it's all I just had it on repeat. I just had the album on repeat from beginning to end. Go on repeat. It's just so good. Like, do you know how nice it is to hear somebody talk about selling crack while you're coding? It's like it's one of the best
And
feelings.
listen to Pusha T's It's Almost Dry because I think
Yeah,
that was a better
Pusha
album than
T's
Freddie
Always
Gibbs'
Right.
album.
No, it's not. It's not.
But personally, I have a bias where
Because Pusha raps about the same thing every single time, and I'm kind of gotten bored of it. And I feel like he's kind of phoned it in, like and people are gonna get pissed. Like his rap style is very good, but he raps about the same topic every time. Like he's like, "Will this album be about crack? It will be about crack." It's just like every single one. Or, will this album be about coke? It will be about coke. Freddie Gibbs is just like, let me give you this perspective of what it was like in the situation I was in, or dealing with these emotions in like this griminess, and just his way of describing shit is so good. He's like super talented.
I'll
and
be
every
honest, I haven't
single
listened
album
to
is really good.
I haven't
Go
listened
listen to it. It's really good.
only because,
And I
this is where-
promise
tell me if
anybody
this is
put
wild.
it on Sold So Separately. Listen to the first song and you'll fall in love.
Tell me if it's wild that I'm not really fucking with Freddie Gibbs because him and Academics are beefing.
Yeah, that is wild because Academics is Academics.
What's your thing with Academics? What's your opinion on Academics quickly?
He's fine. So for those of y'all who don't know, Academics is like this online YouTube personality that talks about rap beef and
just hip hop in general.
Recently,
He's talk about everything that's going on in hip hop.
Usually, hip hop drama is what he's about, and he talks really fast and he does this weird thing, and he's yeah. And he got into a little hot water because people started to ask him like, "Hey, do you feel kind of responsible for the Chicago beef?" Because that's how he started getting popular by talking about all the deaths that were happening in Chicago. I don't really mind him. Like, he has his own personality, it doesn't bother me. But when he had that beef with Freddie Gibbs, I was just like, you don't come close to the creativity, the work, the thing that you've put out there is you talking about this. This man has put out like these amazing pieces of work, this music that like anybody can listen to. And if we're just going talent, like, it's Freddie Gibbs. So that's why, like, I don't care about the beef. Like, it doesn't define Freddie Gibbs, but I think it defines more of academics. Like
So,
I just get into beefs with rappers because I talk rap about them.
well, here's the thing: is that I agree with certain things, but the thing that I've listened to academics talk a lot about and brings up a good point, because I would feel the same way. I'm like, bro, why are you being going so hard on this guy? Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, why are you even doing that? Like, you're giving him more attention than not when you do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he brought up a good point, which was like when Lil Baby dissed him in a song, right? Like, he said a
Mm-hmm.
line that said like academics type dudes can get touched or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like academics dudes get touched, and academics like, you saying you're going to touch me? Like, that sounds, the way he said it was, sounds pretty fruity for you to say that you're going to touch me unless you're saying something else, which is
Mm-hmm.
mad incriminating. Regardless,
Mm-hmm.
he starts going in on Lil Baby, saying it's the biggest piece of, like, just saying crazy outlandish things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, you went too far with that. Like, why are you being so disrespectful? Why are you saying things every chance you get, every time you're on a stream? Why go that hard?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, every single time that Lil Baby song's playing in the club, multiple times, repeat, every time it's on the radio, that line is constantly getting put out there in everyone's
Mm-hmm.
heads and everyone gets to hear it. I don't get that. I have one stream where I'm going to say something. So every fucking time I'm on stream, I'm going to say it to have that same effect that a song that's going to have so much replay value is going to get, because he's just
Okay,
putting
that's
something
fair.
out. And it's pretty much, to him, it's like tit for tat. You have me in a song that is getting played in the club over and over and over and over again. So I'm going to
That's
say
fair.
shit
That's a good
over
way
and
to
over
use
and
your
over again.
medium. I think that's a good way to use your medium, but it still doesn't. Freddie Gibbs is number 2. Go listen to it. If we want to play on replayability, like you put that in the car and just.
Okay, so
It's
quickly, I
great.
need full top 5 because we're hitting the end of the year. So this is kind of like
I'd
wrap
have to
up.
go through it because this only happened because we were talking about it last time, and I was like, "What were the albums?" And then I was like, "Well, what came out this year?" And then once I saw like, "Wait, Bad Bunny released this year," I was like, "Well, that's obviously number 1." Like it just was insane. Like I could replay it right now and like sing every song. Like it is so good. For people who haven't heard it, go listen to it. Even if you don't
Everyone's heard it.
understand the words, you'll listen to it.
Right? It's the vibe in general. Even if you don't listen to the words,
Yeah, it feels like you're in a
the
beach somewhere,
vibe,
just relaxing.
having
And
a
that's what I
few
was
beers
doing.
with
It
the
takes me
bros.
back. Yep.
Okay, so I guess
Man.
my 5 has to be 7220, Lil Durk's album.
Really?
It like pretty
See,
much has to be. I'm looking at things that happened this year that I put on my recently. Kendrick's album's so mid,
it's not. It's really good.
extremely mid.
It's really good.
Um, it is crazy how mid that is. Because it's like I listened to the whole thing and I think I went down the whole path of like, we gotta like this, right? To be honest,
Father
I was
Time on Kendrick
no,
Lamar's album. I
I was
remember that.
way more
So good.
excited. I was way more excited hearing Baby Keem's album than I was listening to listening to Kendrick's album. So
Really?
Baby Keem having those two Kendrick features, way more creative, entertaining, and like replayability than anything on Kendrick's album, personally.
But Kendrick always does that. He always drops albums that may not have, like, To Pimp a Butterfly is regarded as his best album, has almost like not that much replayability, right? The media was trying to find like different songs that are like popular, like All Right and stuff like that, which are cool, but like would never play something like Good Kid, Mad City, which are just like things you could replay and replay, which I think is completely
Damn was
fine.
his
Like
most replayable album, in my opinion.
I thought Damn was one of his worst albums. Like it felt corny to me. Like because everything else felt like I'm taking these very introspective looks into myself, the culture, and the people around me. And Good Kid, Mad City was, man, so good. It could have been like a freaking church album. Like people were
Or
getting
like some sort of.
baptized in the album,
I
or
think
like
people that
people
could
were
definitely
accepting
be like
Christ as like a.
that could definitely be like a Broadway
Yeah,
show.
Joel Osteen needs to pick that song up, put it, play it. But what I'm saying is, I don't know, man. He's really good. This album is really good. Like
And
you can't
technically,
knock
it
him for
may have.
trying
I gotta
different
see
things.
if Baby Keem's album came out this year, because that's on the top 10 also. That's
Yeah,
probably
I heard JID's album was actually really good too. I haven't gotten the chance to listen to it, but from JID fans, they said it was really good. But why don't we go through this list and we can come back and say a top five. But top one is undoubtedly Bad Bunny.
Un verano sin ti.
And one of them, yeah, and one of the albums that just came out and then was removed that I wanted to talk about and that I listened to because I thought it would be interesting was R. Kelly's
Go off, King.
album.
Tell me about how you listened to that R. Kelly album. Tell me about how you were feeling.
Yeah. So I didn't know how to feel. Well, first I was like, it'd be interesting because of all the controversy surrounding him to hear this music. Because when I was going into it, I initially thought, well, this is just a money grab and the music will be bad, right? Like he just went to jail. Maybe he needs some money. Maybe he needs to pay some things off. And so this is why it's coming out.
Well, it also, you know that they, on a quick note, no, but you know that they, like, I guess for basically he had like hella money in his commissary and they wiped it out to pay victims and stuff like that. So like they're giving him like absolutely no money. The money he even had in jail,
funny.
They completely wiped out and basically said, yeah, no, you ain't keeping this.
Whoever did that is amazing. I didn't even know you could do that.
I didn't know you could do that either.
That must hurt.
Yeah, because you're like, I'm in jail and I'm broke. Like I was rich, I was jail rich, and now I'm jail broke. So
and they just took it from me. They just held me up.
Right.
That's insane. I didn't know that. Good for them. Good for whoever did that. But I mean, like, fuck R. Kelly. For those of you who don't know,
because I know. So what was?
Yeah, I had to look
you
into
first.
it.
You first told me. Let's just put this out that you like. I mean, he just like peed on some people, right? And I'm like, I think it was a little more deep than that, dog. Pretty sure it was a little crazier than peeing on people.
R. Kelly was convicted on federal child pornography and exploitation charges and faces 30 years in prison. So pretty.
I mean, I didn't watch Surviving R. Kelly, but according to everybody, if
I didn't watch
that,
either.
You can never like ever
listen to his music.
Here's the problem. So I want to quickly talk about the implication for this, where a lot of people are like, why can't you just like stop listening to his music? Like he's a terrible person, and that shouldn't be something that you even want to ingest, right? But when you're like, especially in the Black community, he was like a Michael Jackson-esque figure. So you have to think about how many people have had wedding songs that were R. Kelly songs. How many people have like in slideshows have like had all these crazy memories, first dates, nights with their lovers and stuff like that to R. Kelly songs.
The music is removed from that person. It's like now my song and has a special memory attached to it.
They're almost
you can't
like
blame somebody.
Forget the R. Kelly thing, but like, do you understand what this song means to me and my relationship with my family?
And I think that's completely fair, and that's why I went in listening to this because I'm like, okay, well, I would need to know what this sounds like. Like it's out there, and I want to know if it's any good because I don't even know any R. Kelly songs. Like I don't know a single song that he's put out. And I'm sure that I've heard his music, but I don't know. The thing is, it's like I couldn't name them.
I just can't understand. Like, mind you, I grew up differently. Maybe like R. Kelly songs were played in my house like religiously. Like in my house when I grew up, it was like TP3 or whatever the fuck that one album is.
So how did your parents take the whole?
So my mom watched the documentary and was like, I cannot ever listen to R. Kelly again. My dad, I don't know if he purposely didn't watch the documentary, but I be hearing him periodically play R. Kelly songs. And that's the only way I can get away. But my dad wild. Like my dad actively bought. My dad was at a thrift store, like at some sort of like dusty store, and found like a Bill Cosby record and was like, oh shit, like this the one, and bought it. I'm like, you crazy. That's insane that you bought that. He's like, can you believe it's on sale? So my dad be periodically throwing R. Kelly on, separating the art from the artist. And for me, that's just the only time where it's like, you got to accidentally, like, you got to listen to R. Kelly accidentally. You can never play R. Kelly yourself. But like if someone's listening to it, you can like put an ear out, you know what I mean? So that like,
wow.
So you can just.
I wonder if that's how people feel, like everybody in general. Because I listened to this not like, I was just very unknowledgeable about what was going on. I knew he was in jail. I knew it was for some charges, but I don't regret in a sense listening to it because I feel like it's out there for a reason. And it was honestly out against his will because it was removed 2 hours after. So if anything, I felt even better that none of the money is really going to him because I'm listening it off of a stream that somebody's putting up illegally. And so
what did you think of it? I didn't listen to it.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. Not ever hearing.
Was he saying anything? Because the album was called "I Admit It."
No, he wasn't saying anything. If anything, it was very one of like some of the. I only listened to half of it, and that's my fault. And but from what I heard, it was good. Like you could remove his vocals, and just the instrumentals were my favorite part. Like very jazzy, very like 70s. Just like it was really just nice to just put on in the background. His voice kind of annoys me, especially because it's so attached with everything that's going on. Because I mean, he's the fucking person doing everything. But the instrumental part is really good. He had a song where he was singing about like I don't know, like the future and kids and stuff like that. And that was kind of like it felt like We Are the World, the one with the one that all the artists So
everybody.
Yeah, it felt kind of like that song, like he was trying to rally people together for some cause that was about like saving. I don't know. I don't want to speak out of turn, but it was kind of corny, stuff like that. And so some of the songs were bad, but in general, I don't even know if I can condone like listening to it. I think you should just form your own opinion, but I think it wasn't bad. Like it's better than some albums I've heard that have had more of a run up and better artists. Like
yeah,
I don't like. I wanted to look up
objectively. He's good musically. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So like you could say the same thing in the vein. We're going to quickly talk about because you posted it again. I didn't listen to this either. Kanye put out a song somehow, and it got taken down immediately.
I did listen to that one too. I guess I'm just into listening to controversial music. I listened to it. We got Soul Sample Ye back with that. But at what cost? And what he was saying was still wild.
Was he saying wild things on the song?
He said like something, like I said DEFCON 3, but it's past that now or something. Where it's just like you're yeah, I was just like
now, did I not say that no matter what he says, if he puts out something and it's good enough, people are still gonna listen?
Yeah, and so I joined the r/Kanye subreddit. And it is weird. It's really sad too. You see a lot of mental gymnastics in there. Like, oh, like I know he said this, but like, what could he do? It just is insane. Like, you're just like,
basically, people are trying to. Everyone thinks that he's some mad genius that has a bigger plan, and everyone's like, what can he do to fix this? Because people who love Kanye don't truly give a fuck. They just don't want to look wild for liking Kanye.
Yeah.
So they're basically trying to be like, how can it be okay for us to like Kanye again?
Exactly.
I think that's like where they're at.
I've seen that a lot in that community. And it was wild because I guess, I mean, it is like the cream of the crop of his fans. Like who goes to r/Kanye except for his fans? And there are a lot of people on there that are like, he can't do anything or like this and like denouncing everything he does. But like if you sort by new, you will find a lot of people who are like, well, he was kind of right. Or like, he didn't really say, I saw him on a podcast and he did say and stuff like that. And you're just like, no, like, stop. Like, this is really bad. This should not even be this shouldn't be up for debate. It's not up for debate. Like, what he's saying is terrible and you shouldn't support him for those actions. And if we're listening to the music and it's mid like this, I'm glad we got the Soul Sample back, but at what cost? Right. And then the rapping was mediocre.
Because I had someone who told me the other day, and I looked at them like they were wild, that they're excited, hoping that Donda 2 will come out officially.
Who said that?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
It doesn't matter. But I'm like, what the fuck? That'd be funny. Pablo's like A on the low. That'd be so funny. No, Pablo.
I think
even if he's pretending, has been like super on this. Like, no, I can't fuck with Kanye no more.
Yeah, I get that.
Which is like, which is cool. It's glad that he's fine. Like that the morals lie somewhere where he's like, all right, this is too far. I can't keep on. But I mean, when we're talking about people like R. Kelly and stuff like that, who have committed legitimate crimes, like this is more of a moral thing, which is the interesting thing. Is like
Mhm.
It's not a crime for him to do or say anything that he's saying. It's just hateful and people don't agree with it.
Yeah,
But what we're
exactly.
talking about with like R. Kelly, I mean, with R. Kelly is like literal crimes. You know what I mean? In jail for a reason. The thing
Yeah.
with jail and the thing with crimes is that at least you feel like they had to be held accountable for their actions.
Exactly.
And then once they're out, you can still decide how you feel, but you kind of feel like you're dealing with a reformed person because they were in the system, even though I don't personally feel like the system reforms people. But
Yeah.
idealistically it should. So then you at least go, they've paid their dues.
They paid their dues.
What
Well,
dues
30
would
years, is that not life basically for him? Because he's pretty old, right?
I mean, he might be like 50, 60, 70, 80.
30 years? I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what like the parole age is, but I'm sure that by the time he gets out, he will be closer to death than when he got in.
Right.
Is it
But then
not?
we
It's
saw
basically life.
but then we saw Bill Cosby, we're like, that's life for sure, and he's out. So it's like,
On a technicality, yeah.
but a lot of stuff like this, that's the system too, is the system is, can you find the technicality? I feel like that's what good lawyers are all about. Like, can you find the technicality, or
That's
can you
definitely true.
afford enough money to prove your innocence? I think that's like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, the way that the
Well,
system works.
Yeah,
But
that's not always the case. But I'm glad that you mentioned money because there's something else I wanted to talk about. And I
okay,
really wanted to hear what you had to say
all right,
because I know how much of a, Elon Musk fan
Stan.
maybe, and you're not a fan. I feel like Stan. And I think people who listen may agree. But it was reported that, all right, it was reported that he's charging $11 on the App Store for Twitter, Blue, keeping the price the same for Google, even though they take 30% as well. And I just wanted to hear what you thought was on the price increase, what your thought was on why just on iPhone,
Well,
and
go
what
ahead.
it means for Twitter.
So interesting.
So why did the price increase?
I think the price increased because he realized the margins weren't going to be what he needs them to be.
Correct. That's what he said.
So
why do you think it didn't increase on Google?
Because they're still working by what he said on Twitter previously.
I didn't know that.
On Android stuff. He had said like Android, like he had fired someone saying like Android's speed is slow, Android's like shit is all fucked up. And people at Twitter would argue, but he's like, look, this is the data. So I think iPhone's on lock with Twitter. So they're like, we're good. We can charge them the premium price because we've like done all the good shit. We've prioritized iPhones basically. And now I think he's like, we got to work on Android. So we got to wait until things get like better and more streamlined. We're not going to charge them for bugs that we still have, I guess, that we're working on. That's my opinion, my assumption on why he'd be like doing that on the Android front, because he discussed Android previously when he was like talking to everybody that like, who debates with, we're not going to get into that whole thing again, but who debates with their boss on their own platform? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why are Twitter employees tweeting about their problems with Twitter on Twitter? Like, go to a different app. No, go to a different
I think I would
app
do
to
that.
I
would do that.
If you don't give a fuck about being fired and you don't give a fuck about them treating you a certain way and you want to go out with a bang and get your clout off, cool. But if you're trying to keep your job, that's not the way you do it. Personally, I don't think.
Oh, I agree.
It's like going into the office
on Twitter discussing it.
It's like being in the office, being like, "Yo, fuck everybody in this office." Like that's crazy. You don't want to say that.
Yeah.
You can go to like your boys. You can go to your boys and be like, "Yo, fuck my job," and you can go to Facebook and be like, "Yo, Twitter wilding right now." But to go to Twitter,
they came in with the knowledge of wanting to get fired. That's the only reason you would do it, which is completely fine. Which is like go off like you got your chance to shine. You worked for them, and you want to say suck a dick the thing is, on the platform that they're working on.
And then he'll respond and he'll give like the facts.
He has a very small ego. Not the facts. He'll just give his opinion and then get really hurt about it.
What I mean is he'll at least post some sort of receipt that makes it seem like it's facts. He'll post like some data sheets and shit like that. Or some shit. I don't know fucking terms. No, like he'll post like graphs and shit of like performance and users, and he'll like legit
So
be like,
you're saying that, but you're saying that he's not including it in Google because they have bugs.
I think they're still working on stuff.
So there's that perspective, okay. And
now,
so what do you think it will change though? So they're reportedly going to make 4 million a month, but they're losing 4 million a day according to his tweets.
Right.
So why do you think he's pushing so hard for Twitter Blue? Is it just like, I'm going to come up with 30 ideas and each of them will make 4 million and then we'll be out of the hole?
No, I think the big problem with Twitter is bots. And if you get people to authenticate themselves, you know the difference between real people and not real people. Because who's going to spend $11 per bot? And if they do want to spend $11 per bot and create a whole troll farm, that's where the money comes in. One single user is not really making or breaking, and the idea is to get more users. And the only way to get more users is, for one, he says, I think he's working on the advertising part of it, where it's going to be shifty for a little bit, but the idea is to get the right advertisers for the users. So like in Instagram, when you're seeing ads, those things suck you in. They're like pieces of content. I have to look at the bottom and see that it says sponsored so I don't get tricked. Because when you're engaging with ads in Instagram, it's pretty much like so tailored to you that it's basically content. It's not an ad. And that's the idea with Twitter. Twitter ads don't do anything. I never see a Twitter ad and think that I want it all of a sudden. But if the ads are like pieces of content, then advertisers will pay a lot more money to get in front of the people that actually would buy their product. So that's like what he's basically been saying lately, is the whole idea is to get ads and the right advertisers for Twitter. And I guess he has to do a lot of fixing things, prove to people that it's not just a bunch of bots and that there's actual real people that these advertisers would be selling to. And I think that only can be done with authentication. And the right way to authenticate is to charge people, make them go through all of that to be a verified person. Because now when I see a check mark, it doesn't tell me that they're a celebrity anymore. It just tells me that they're a real person as opposed to some random bot.
Got it. Okay. So I like that. So in your opinion, he's still steering the boat correctly. He's taken it from Apple. He said, I'll raise the price for my users because I'm not paying for this.
Plus, Apple is used to paying for more. Like, Apple's ecosystem has trained you to be willing to pay more for things. Plus, like, all of a sudden, my fucking Apple Music shit just went up. My YouTube.
You're saying everybody with. So what are you saying about everybody with green bubbles for text?
I mean, I don't personally want to text them. I mean, like, that's how I feel. Like,
who could you call out that has green text?
Seth.
Oh my god! What do you want to say to him?
No, like, so here's what I do with Seth is like, he has his personal phone and his work phone. Our work phones are iPhones, so I only text his work phone. Because, like, why would
that's how?
Yeah, no, like, why? For one, and it's more internal than that, because it's one thing to just be like, fuck you, you have green. But if I want to send you a picture or video, I don't trust that it's going to turn out the same quality on the other side.
That's definitely true. But when I send it on purpose,
and when I send it to an iPhone,
and they don't want to.
When I send it to iPhone, I know for sure what I sent you is going to be the same on your side.
Okay.
So it's like things like that. If anything else, I'll have to send it through Instagram or some sort of other communication method, because I don't think that
the compression on the Android is too big.
Right. And the camera, I mean, it's just, I know that they always talk about the cameras and all that stuff, but like, I just love an iPhone camera personally. And to me, the whole thing is I'm locked in the ecosystem. I have AirPods, I have a Mac, I have my iPhone. I used to have an Apple Watch, and it all works together very seamlessly. And it's like made to be used the way that it is. And when you start getting Android things, it's just, you get to just use everything. And people would say you have more options, but it's not as efficient.
I agree. We won't even get into that topic. That's a whole, I hear it enough over here in SF.
Oh, I'm sure you get it. But speaking of SF, I do want to get into another topic here, which is a little more of an interesting one, for the fact of, like, a lot of people have a bunch of different opinions. So we've been having this issue where Ukraine and Russia are having this war, right? Now, the thing about it is, at the first season, hard. Everybody was really on it first season.
All right.
I haven't watched like the most recent season, like Ghost of Kiev. That episode, hard as fuck.
Yeah,
But
that was insane.
so we're going to go into the whole thing with media and the way that media wants to paint things and portray things, because that's a big thing in general right now. It's things you look at the things the way they want you to look at things. And then there's do your own research, and then you have division. We're very divided because of that, because half the people trust what the mainstream media says, and the other half think that you have to do your own research. And then doing your own research is being on fringe groups that have some truth and then some craziness, and you got to figure out what the middle point is. So this whole situation with BRITNEY GRINER, there was a WNBA player who was arrested in Russia when she was playing basketball over there. She had a THC vape pen on her, and she went through the airport and she got arrested for trafficking drugs, right? To another country. In America, that pen, because it's a man-made thing, is a felony. Just want to put that out there. In America, having that, if you get pulled over in one of these countries, in one of these states where that's not legal, because it's not federally legal, it's a felony. Texas. And you're going to jail. Just flat out. That's just the way things are.
I think in any airport, since they're all federal.
Right. So it's a felony, and you get put in jail for however long they want to put you in jail, however they do their things, yada yada yada. The thing with media is, at the end of the day, they do want to get. I do think that there are journalists with integrity still, but I also do feel that these big corporations are losing to social media and have to figure out a way to get eyeballs. So I've noticed this all the time with things where, like, I'm outside of the Houston city limits. Houston had a boil water ban. I mean, a boil water notice, because something happened with one of their main water pipes. The news was being so crazy with using this as a way to scare people into being on the news the whole time. Every 5 minutes, it was what the next update would be for when we know about when they're going to begin to test water. And then you're like, okay, so it's that a bunch of times. The one that got me the most, and I'm not anti-vax at all by any means. I got vaccinated. But I saw this headline that said, "Want free water?" And so you click on the headline, and then it goes, there is a place where you can go, and if you get the flu vaccine, they'll give you a free case of water. And you're like, what the fuck? How are y'all using what we're super scared about right now, about how people don't have water, to like boost this other thing that you guys are trying to do, which is a whole different narrative? So
that's insane.
And then after
funny too.
And after the boil water ban was over, it was still headlines being what you need to know before you start drinking the water, even though it's good. Yeah. And then it's another scare tactic to get you right back on the fucking media thing. So I know that they pull on certain heartstrings to basically make you feel a certain way and be glued to the TV because you're scared.
Well, and they make money that way.
Right. So with BRITNEY GRINER, it had all of the storms of what the media wants you to have, which is a minority, someone playing a minority sport, someone being a part of the LGBTQ community, and somebody having a crime that half the people in this country don't think is a crime. It had the perfect storm of everything that makes the left be like, what the fuck is going on? This is so unfair. And I had a lot of people that felt that way. I felt that way. I felt like, damn, that is kind of crazy for someone to just have a vape pen and all of a sudden they're in jail for 9 years. But what people are not fully looking at, and everyone's trying to tell you to look at it and stuff, is that it's very hypocritical for us to go to another country and say, let this person out, when we have people locked up for the same exact thing, the same amount of time, that are normal people in society. But because this person is a person of influence because they play a sport, which, by the way, no one watches, which is regardless, that no one watches.
Not no one watches, but a majority of people do not watch.
Does not make money. How about we say that?
All right. And keep going. I'm going to Google that.
That is factual, because they are subsidized by the NBA. They're a subsidized league by the NBA. Anyways, does not make money. Right. That we are doing this because they check all the check marks to make people feel okay about it.
All right. I Googled it. The question was, has the WNBA made a profit yet? The answer is never, not once in history of the WNBA has the league turned a profit.
Okay. Now,
Wow.
wild. So, so why? Is it because we truly think it's unfair? Because if we truly think it's unfair, then let everybody out in this country that also has similar charges.
Completely agree.
Do
Completely
we
agree.
think that this is necessary for our economy because this person really brings in a lot of money to our country and people want to come and see him? Like if LeBron James was in that situation, it would make 100% sense for us to do everything to get him over because that actually
Okay.
makes money for the country. If we're being
That's
capitalistic
wild.
about it, if we're being
That's
capitalistic
insane.
about it. So my thing
That's
is, or do
insane.
we care about money or do we care about the social issue? Because if we care about either of those two, we shouldn't have done this trade regardless, right? If it was about money, they don't make money. If it was about social issue, we have the same amount of people in this country, or we have way more people in this country in jail for the same thing. So then let them out. Is it about
I completely agree
patriotism? Is it about
with that
patriotism?
aspect. Sorry.
Well, we left a former Marine who's locked in jail over there and brought BRITNEY GRINER instead and exchanged someone who was dealing arms to our ops in exchange. So
Right.
once again,
Okay.
it doesn't seem to make sense on a patriotic level, doesn't seem to make sense on a social level, doesn't seem to make sense on a monetary level.
So what was said about that? Because I did read. So the reason that they had to trade the reason that they made this trade was that they were only willing to give up. How do you say her name?
BRITNEY GRINER.
Yeah, they were only willing to give up BRITNEY GRINER for whoever that they were willing to give up. Like they wouldn't allow them to take anybody else. So if it's like this or nothing, then you kind of just take this.
Some people would say nothing because the trade is technically bad. So we're basically giving them someone who can actually hurt us.
Okay.
For someone that technically doesn't benefit us. If we're commoditizing these people, which I don't think is right. I don't think we should look at these people as like what's better for our country, what's a commodity. It should just be like, let's do what's right, which is what everyone felt. But that's still not right because our country's not doing what's right. So it's very hypocritical. And that's where everyone's been calling out the idea that it's just like, why do this? It makes you look stupid, basically. It makes you look like
which I think is what Russia wanted.
Right. Which to
the
me
headlines are insane.
Play.
And the media has been going crazy for it. It's just like this person who dealt arms and you got WNBA player. And then the joke has been everywhere. It's like this is the only WNBA trade that I've ever cared about or ever paid attention to, which is funny.
Right. It's hilarious. But what was the news story when she got locked up?
The news story was also
GRINER. It was free BRITNEY GRINER. She's in there for 9 years. It's completely unacceptable. We need to do everything in our power to get her out because that's what people on the left feel should happen. It's that idea that like, you know, when it's like free my boy, even though he did kill those people, but free my boy.
Free my boy.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, wait, but he's literally a menace to our society. Like, what are you saying? You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean? So it's like, okay, yes, do I think that is a justifiable crime to be put away for that long? No, but Russia is a completely different country that obviously doesn't play by the same rules that we do. And obviously we don't play by the same rules that we claim that we're caring about. So it just seems very hypocritical from us as a country. And it makes us look way less powerful. Because, I mean, look, and I always bring this point back, but it just seemed like the craziest move where like when ASAP Rocky was in Sweden, for Trump to be like, bring ASAP Rocky home or we're fucking having a trade war against you right now. And he was like, we're not fucking negotiating anymore. Either you do what we say or you're not getting shit. And they're like, fuck. All right, I'm scared. And then they gave us ASAP Rocky. And this seemed like Russia was like, well, we want the guy who sells guns to everybody. So, yeah, we need that guy. Yeah, you can have your WNBA player.
Trump also freed like 5,000 Taliban people.
Did he?
Yes.
Hey. But he let Kodak Black and Lil Wayne out. So it's like...
they basically equate themselves at this point.
That was pretty much an even trade.
Right? If we get the Carter... Was Lil Wayne in jail?
Yeah. When he pardoned Kodak Black and Lil Wayne before he dipped.
Yes, I know that. But I didn't know he pardoned, I guess, Lil Wayne. But what I'm saying is, like, it's always going to be this he said, she said, or like this side did this side did this. Like, I'm sure we could find an example of every single president having to do something that we find controversial, or not. I think we would do it.
Right.
But like looking at it objectively, this person shouldn't have been going to jail for it. This person shouldn't have had this outside of the U.S.
Now, this is where things get
very stupid.
So the thing with that one is like they're with these oligarchs. These oligarchs kind of bankroll them while they're in these countries. Their sport and talents are worth a little more over there. Well, once we crack down on them and we're like, yo, we took away oligarch powers and shit like that. We're like stripping whatever the fuck from these oligarchs. Now they don't have the same pull anymore. And now they have this bitter idea towards America. And we're helping the ops. So yeah, 100%. She probably did this a million times. This was a normal.
But it shouldn't have been done, right?
Right.
Yeah, but there's no excuse, really.
But she was doing it, and she had been fine up to this point, and then shit switched up, which some would argue that she should have known. The block's hot right now. Maybe now.
Well, she shouldn't even be doing it.
Right. But
it's
if you're already
on her and nobody else's fault.
Exactly. Which people at the same time are also trying to take away that responsibility from her.
Yeah, it's not. It is her responsibility, and we're bailing her out for doing something stupid that she shouldn't have been doing. And I think it's something,
and it became,
we have capability to do, then we should do, even though there are other people in there, and you know, rightfully they may deserve a second chance. At the cost of giving them this arms dealer that may or may not,
whose name is the Merchant of Death. There's a movie after this dude, dog. It's like
we need to watch it. I feel like
you know what I'm saying? Like
increase the prices with Nicolas Cage. Back when Nicolas Cage was good,
he's still good.
For those of you who don't know, who are around, okay, if you ask anybody our age, which I've asked because I'll explain the story. If you ask, I won't even ask. What was Nicolas Cage in? What movies do you know him from? You're gonna name 3 at the most.
He was in National Treasure.
Yeah. What else?
He was on this Netflix documentary. He was the narrator. I saw that shit.
Okay. Sure.
And he was in this movie. And he was in this movie with the Merchant of Death, about the Merchant of Death that we've been talking about right now.
So National Treasure was the only one. You missed Ghost Rider at least. He was a Ghost Rider.
All right, but did you see National Treasure though?
Yeah, we've all seen National Treasure. But what I'm saying is that's like older Nicolas Cage. Like he's in a lot of stuff. Like I think he's in Two-Face. He's in the best movie ever, The Rock. And his acting is ridiculous. Like he overacts so much, but it's like so good. It's so like it's very good and it's also very bad.
I think he's very self-aware of that though. I think he's very self-aware of himself.
Well, it changed. Like if you see him in National Treasure, it's tame. But if you see it before, like we need to watch it. When you see older movies that we thought were cool back then,
and you see how like if you've seen like CGI back in the day, you're like, what the fuck was that?
What were y'all on? Yeah, exactly. Well, this was on that level, but it was like on like the misogyny and like one of the scenes is him playing the guitar shirtless and he's just strumming. He's a jugando la guitarra. He's just strumming it intently and like looking in the corner. And I think he's supposed this is what I think because I didn't even feel it. I think he's supposed to just be hot. And like you're supposed to want him because he's shirtless in the corner playing guitar all menacingly. And the girl's like, "How was your day?" He asks her, "How was your day?" And she explains like her day, and it's obviously not as cool as his because he's like, "Well, I just defused a bomb and like did this and this, but no big deal." And so it was like so corny, and I was like, okay, I guess. Like what a dick. But that was considered cool back in the day.
But with all that being said, what do you feel? Like, so a lot of people are very anti, like I made someone very mad because the thing that I said at the end of the day is everyone's complaining about, well, why should she be out when, you know, so many people are still in jail for this, and when we left this person behind.
What if that is true?
And I just say, how good is their 3-pointer though?
Oh my god, how good is the 3-pointer? How good is it? Do we know her stats?
No. How good is this former Marine's 3-pointer? At the end of the day, that is what America's saying.
Could you imagine?
This is kind of unfortunate because what this is actually telling us is that if you are a person of like if you can get social media behind you. No one knew who Brittney Griner was before this.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get social media behind you and you can basically make yourself a celebrity, then you're important in America. But if you're not important in America by some sort of social standing, then it doesn't matter. If no one knew her and no one cared, this wouldn't have happened. But it's because everyone
what happens
said
with companies all the time. They're just like, oh, you like they'll call them out or something, bring up enough of an uproar that the company will do something about it.
Even
but otherwise,
if it doesn't make any sense for the company to do.
Exactly.
You're usually catering to like 40 people who are just very loud online, and the rest of the millions of people that actually support your business don't give a fuck. But you made a decision. You said
it yourself.
To
like
silence
people
these few
notice
people.
that if they together collectively, it's called voting. But like here, we do it collectively. We just put our thoughts together and say we agree on this topic, and then we push forward, and then if we're loud enough, if the loudest voice in the room wins, I guess.
And this kind of is the importance of Twitter, because Twitter's this global. Here's the problem.
When you mentioned the 3-pointer, sorry, I had this idea. I was like, could you imagine if that's how we decided, like in a game of horse? They're like a game of horse, Brittney Griner versus
the new
Marine.
justice system.
Whoever wins, gets free. I mean, she would win, but it's just insane that
it just doesn't seem. Nothing seems consistent, and that's my problem. And I think that things need to be consistent on both sides. So like this is, and I'm surprised we didn't talk about this, dude. Did we talk about it last week?
What?
The Twitter files? Did you hear about the Twitter files?
No.
So
wait, but let's finish this topic, because I think you brought up a really good point that I've also noticed in SF, and that like kind of honestly made me sad, which was like these drugs that you would get, that I've like know people who have been locked up for, right, for weed or for like selling like weed or just weed does not seem the same anymore. And even in Harris County, the largest county in Texas, I think, and in definitely Houston, basically all of Houston,
right,
like had to decriminalize it because so many people were getting arrested for it. And so it is 100% like super hypocritical for us to free somebody for something that we would jail them for, because
social media made a big enough uproar.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and so
truly
it's like,
what it is.
If that is the case, then you everyone that isn't fighting for this to be legal right now, especially on the left, is kind of is not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Now here's the conspiratorial, if you want to put your tinfoil hat on. So once we talk about everything, it's like the problem with Twitter is that there's no real way to determine are these people from your country or not, right? And this is where a lot of this discourse happens. A lot of this discourse happens where people on the biggest communication app in the world are able to get together and say their ideas. Who's to say that these loud voices that are maybe like 40 to 50 people are not all from another country that are basically just trolls trying to get America riled up, and then we make decisions based on something that some other country decided on us. That's, the big conspiracy of like, is this even America's opinion?
People no longer need to worry. We're charging $11 per check. Russia can't afford that, so we're good. All right. No longer need the tinfoil. Thank you, Elon, for charging the exact right amount. There you go. This is no longer an issue.
But that's the thing, is that that's really the fear. That's really the fear. And that's really that is really the problem with a lot of this. And basically this leads me into at the end of the day, I don't think that this was a good trade, and I don't think that this shows America in a good light. But we
sound like some of the ESPN people, like it's like CP3 getting traded to the Suns for like, you know what? I don't think the Suns are gonna do well. He's kind of old. That's literally what you sound like. Like the U.S., the trade wasn't very good. They got too many points. They got too many rookies. Too many.
Real talk. Look. America is in a rebuild stage right now, and I don't
That's true.
I don't think that we're getting the right players to set us up for the future.
Damn.
But
that's funny. This is all jokes too. People get really upset. Like, we're just joking. Chill.
Yeah, but so the Twitter files, I want to quickly talk about what that was, which was a bunch of things that came out showing what happened with the Biden story, the Hunter Biden story. You remember that whole situation?
Yes, but which I just heard that it was nothing. Like, basically, it was nothing. But did you hear otherwise, or did you read? I doubt that you read them first.
I went through the. It was a Twitter thread. Okay.
Look in my eyes. Tell me that you read.
I went through the Twitter thread. Of course I did.
How long was the Twitter thread?
I don't know the exact amount. It was a lot. It was a lot. But
isn't there a character limit on Twitter?
Threads. So basically, you post a tweet, you click below it, and the person posts another tweet, posts another tweet, posts another tweet, and it's all in the same thread.
Okay, and this thread is discussing what the actual file said, but you didn't
posting
read the
things about. These are the files. Basically, Trump. Fucking Trump. Elon told this guy post the files, so he posted it on Twitter, right?
All right.
In this, the big overarching thing is that government officials have contacted Twitter to say take something down.
It was the opposite.
No, it wasn't.
They literally showed that nobody had contacted them.
They did.
Nobody really cared.
No. Okay.
I'm Googling this.
And on the contrary, here's what I will say.
You keep explaining. I will Google
a Democratic official did go on to say, why are you taking it down? It makes things look wild. Twitter, on the specific situation, Twitter already decided to take this down and then tried to say, how are we going to justify taking this down? They then said hacked materials. And the more and more they went into it, it didn't make sense for them to actually take it down for that reason. So much so that even government officials are saying you need to not take it down because it's actually going to make things look worse for us. It's going to make things look like we're suppressing information. Now, what we determined was that government officials on the Democratic side and the Republican side were both contacting contacting Twitter to say, take this down, please. Take this down, please. The Republicans did it way less than the Democratic Party. And that is just because there's more Democratic friends at Twitter than there are Republican friends. So you just basically, you just call your homie. If you know someone at Twitter, you call your homie or email your homie and say, hey, can you get rid of this? And there's just more Democratic homies. Read the files and then tell me what you gather from it.
You read the files.
I did. Yes, I did.
No, you read a thread.
You read someone's opinion on the files. I read the files and formed my opinion.
All right. Yeah, that's true. I read a summary, and what I heard was that there was
by a biased person
to go down.
Which they're going to say that. But there's this multiple parts to this. But this basically goes to show that there is influence from outside people, not from a group of moderators that decide this is right and this is wrong, but from people saying, hey, can you take that down? That is a thing that happens at Twitter. And it's not some sort of big conspiracy. It's just like, if you know someone at a place, you're going to hit them up and be like, hey, can you do me this favor?
Okay, but that's not a thing. Like, there's enough checks and balances that one person cannot be like, I will delete this, unless you know.
If you're in that department, you know the people in departments. You're in charge of this thing.
The way it works, the way that code works, it wouldn't work that way. Well,
but it's not code, it's mediation.
There was an
audit. It's just mediation. It's not code. They're not putting some sort of algorithm in place to delete this from happening. They're just suppressing it and saying this can't be shared. They put the Hunter Biden thing and said this cannot be shared. This cannot be shared in direct messages.
But it's not
this
like
can't be brought to the front of the whatever the fuck. And there are people basically, one person is emailing it, and then the person's responding, I'm handling it, or it's handled. Like, that's what's happening. That's what
it would be a group of people. It wouldn't be just one person. Like, you couldn't.
Well, they're emailing one person, and that person has to tell the group then. But this is being sent to one.
And that group has to have a consensus and then do that thing.
Or just take the word from their boss that told them to do something. And if they agree with it, why wouldn't they?
But then I feel like Twitter would be like, this person specifically, well,
it's happening so many times. It wasn't a one-time thing. This is a thing that happens at Twitter. And that's what we saw. And people take money. There was a certain amount of money spent for each person to block information. And that's just what it was. But I just wanted to put that out there because we didn't talk about that Fact. And if you want to do more research, dig into it.
I
We
will.
can have a
I'll
better
come back.
conversation about this next week and actually be like, hey, what do we think about this?
Let's put it
Because,
down.
you know, now once we both read it fully and we can have a full-fledged debate about it. I don't know tech, but I'm seeing these emails and what they're saying and what people are responding.
Yeah, that's definitely
As
true.
far as things that don't seem as they seem, that don't seem the way that we see them. To close out, I want to quickly touch on this Liver King thing.
Okay.
Which I don't know if you've ever seen the Liver King.
I have, because it is like inundated at least like YouTube. Like, it's a drama that everybody's talking about.
He is huge.
He's insane. He looks. He's like two people.
Insane.
He looks like buff SpongeBob with the inflatable arms.
Yeah, no, he looks like Larry the Lobster. Like he's straight up. And
Sure.
basically,
Do you think Larry the Lobster was juicing?
Is a very big possibility. Very big possibility that he was.
I never discussed it on SpongeBob.
No, but they also never like discussed like SpongeBob sexuality either.
Do you think SpongeBob is gay?
I mean, him and Patrick spent a lot of time together, and he never tried to smash Sandy cheeks. So it's kind of like
try to smash those sandy cheeks.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, who's he going? Like, he'd rather just chill in a rock with
You
sand.
mean a pineapple?
Huh?
Oh, chill in a rock with his friend. I see.
Yeah, just chill in a rock with his friend whose furniture is sand.
Mm-hmm.
Then go try to hit some of these little fishes out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for one, aren't they asexual? Aren't like sponges by nature asexual?
I mean, if we're getting into the science, you can't have fire underwater, and I don't think
you can't have an entire beach under. Well, you can if it's acid or something, and it's like a different consistency.
Oh, shit! Okay.
But yeah, you ain't really just having like a normal ass ocean under the ocean.
Exactly.
But with all that being said, I wanted to quickly talk about this Liver King thing because basically what happened was every time that he was in an interview, people would ask him if he was like on gear, if he was using steroids, and he would do this thing where he would basically just derail. He wouldn't necessarily say no. He wouldn't necessarily say yes. He would just basically be like, the real thing that we need to talk about here is the 9 ancestral tenets and what this does good for your life and how liver is king. We can, we can talk about all that stuff, but the big thing that we need to talk about is this.
You should give the backstory on who he is, because we just said he's buff, but like, what does he do? And
so he preaches. He's super big. I don't know enough about him. I've listened to a few podcasts, but what I do know is that he claims that you should be eating raw liver. You should be eating raw testicles, and that these are all ancestral things that before we had this modern way of living, that's the way humans lived.
Exactly.
So the way this all came about apparently is that his son couldn't breathe. And they tried to give him a bunch of medicine. And at a certain point, he's like, y'all are just giving my kid shit, and I don't really understand what you guys are doing. None of this seems right. We're still having issues. So he started
gave him liver.
He started doing his own research and started having these ancestral things where they completely cut out processed foods. Okay. They completely cut out all processed foods and started just eating, I guess, just natural things. And then this all led to eventually raw liver, raw testicles.
I didn't know that.
Sleeping
so
on
that's how it came to be.
Sleeping on it. Well, I heard this later on when he was basically bed. He'll sleep on a wooden bed because the idea is you shouldn't be comfortable in bed. You should want to get up out of bed. So if you're in a comfortable bed, you have that feeling of not wanting to get out of bed. If you're in an uncomfortable bed, you're jumping out of bed. You're ready to start your day. You wake up early. You do a lot of that.
I've never woken up faster when I'm sleeping on an inflatable mattress. I can't wait to get out of it. When I moved here, we slept on an inflatable. I would get up every day at 6 a.m., 5 to just like that. Because I was like, fuck. I mean, it's already deflated too. You're like, this is so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that.
I get that. And so the thing is, he had a lot of really good, sound like Andrew Tate. He's had a lot of good ideas, right? And he was saying them in ways that were very entertaining.
What was his good idea? I'm just wondering.
Well, no, it's a lot of stuff that people are saying, like you need sunlight, you need to be getting out of bed early, you need to be motivated.
That was his good idea? I think his ideas were eat liver and put balls in your mouth. So one of those you're saying is a good idea.
Those weren't his ideas. The 9 ancestral tenets. We're talking about the final thing is liver is king, eat this and this and that, right? I don't agree with eating raw liver. I personally won't do it. I'm sure it has a lot of nutrients. I'm sure it does. Not for
Okay.
me though. Not my thing.
The balls, though.
I wouldn't mind trying something just to kind of see what they're about. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm never
You're
just
not
gonna
close,
like,
huh?
I'm not gonna, have a closed mind to things like that. But
Just
no,
like
it's a lot of things
SpongeBob, we've never discussed Zen's section. No, just joking. I'm just fucking joking.
So
I'm
like
joking.
things like Andrew Huberman says, like you should be having indirect sunlight. You should be kind of looking at the sun, not directly at the
Okay.
sun, but
I
like,
agree.
things like that are like a part of the way that we should live, right? That like
Yes.
he has a lot of things that people feel like, okay, that's a good way of living. Now, it is very misleading when you're not saying, also, I am on TRT and growth hormones.
Yes. So that's where that's where I wanted you to get to. So this dude that works out a lot and said that the reason that
Multiple
he's so
times a day.
big is because he eats these things
And
and is
live by
selling
these 9 ancestral
supplements
tenets.
so that you can also do what he's doing, was actually using steroids and is the reason he's so big. And so that is, I think, the controversy. Not I think, that is the controversy.
That is the
Nobody
controversy.
really cares what you're doing. If you're using steroids, good for you. So does a bunch of people. So do like basically all the Avengers. So does The Rock. So does a bunch of people that don't look human, because it's not unless you use specific things.
Now,
I think the biggest issue is that this man is selling you this idea and these things, and is the reason that he has a lot of money, and it was all a lie.
well, he
I
was
feel like you
doing
could
this
sue
before.
somebody for that.
He was selling the supplements before he was a social media figure and making money off of that.
Right.
So,
I mean, we're taking his word, because he said, I've only been doing this for a year. We are taking his word for that. And he's already lied to us about
right,
not taking it. So I don't believe that.
right. He
Homeboy was
also
way
says
too big even before
he also
for
is
it to be
saying that
natural.
he's well, I mean, I guess it's about reading the email. So basically, what happened is a whole documentary came out, and in the documentary, emails came out of how much he spends on it, how often he's doing it, who he's buying them from. All this stuff was out. So if the receipts line up to his claim, then maybe, because they're actual receipts. And at this point, he's like, I'm not going to lie anymore, because that's obviously what put me in the situation. And now he's trying to do anything that he can to make people believe him. So he said it's a process. You can't just quit this cold turkey, but he's getting off of them. He's going natural.
But nobody cares if he's on or off of them. People care that he's selling, that he lied to everybody.
Right. Which, all right. And I'm not, because I never really gave a fuck about when I would hear him. I would be like, cool, do your thing. I don't give a fuck if you're on or off. I'm also not the type that's buying his supplements. I'm not in that world. But one thing that people do fail to like realize is it's not, you can't just take steroids and you're going to be strong. Like, that's just basically, you've worked out so much and you're at your wit's end and you're not going to be able to grow anymore. And this is going to help you get to that next step.
Incorrect. Actually,
you just can take steroids and you just get bigger without working out at all.
Yeah.
That's false.
It's been proven. No, it is true. I swear.
On the contrary, you just start getting these weird, like you'll end up getting like titties because of the estrogen levels. You'll just start like getting all these deformities, but without you working at it, you're working out multiple times a day. You have to partner that in with working out. You can't just take steroids and not work out and get fucking muscles. It doesn't work like that.
See, this is why I need to research this before. No, like honestly, like what I've read is that no, you don't really need to. Like, it does a lot of the work for you. Like, yes, you can work out, and you will be even bigger than you would be. But if you are taking it, your body would just start to shed like fat, and you would start to build more muscle, because that's the whole point.
But how are you building muscle by being inactive?
I don't know, but it is. If I could look it up, then I would instead of just a Google search. But from what I've heard, it is, and it basically builds your muscles up so that if you've taken it once or like a few times, you now, like, your muscles are basically able to get larger. So that's why, like, even if you were to get off of it, you've already kind of changed your body in a way that it can like be where it's at.
Okay,
if that makes
I got
sense.
you. But I do want to touch on that. I do want to do more research, figure out exactly what's going on with all that. But at this point, I don't think it's going to be easy for him to win people back as far as like people trusting that he is like being honest, because everyone would be like, no, you're on steroids. And for him to just say no, 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 and then to be like, you're on steroids, that shit's wild.
Yeah,
But
exactly. I mean, in social media, all you really have is trust, and that's what people like, and that's why people come to you. They can trust that you're doing what you say you're doing, and when people don't do that, that's when they start to lose a bunch of their audience, and then that's where you start to see like who is really brainwashed, because it happens a lot. Like with the example I can think of is like the Ace family. It's like you lied to your audience so much and you turn your back on them, and the people who are still there are kind of like the people who can't get over their ex. Like they'll take any excuse, and
yeah,
you kind of look at them like, are you serious? Like they just stole your money. Same thing with the Liver King, and they're like, yeah, he stole my money, but like he didn't mean to, like he needed to take the steroids. Like who even knows if the story about his son is real? Like maybe he just wanted to eat balls. I genuinely think that he just wanted to eat balls. No, like, well, I think that he just needed a thing to differentiate him and be
listen
like,
to
this
if you get
guy
a
has something
chance.
different.
If you get a chance, listen to him on Flagrant. On
What does
Andrew
he
Schultz's
say?
podcast. I mean, what I like about Andrew Schultz and his whole group is they're not gonna let him off easy. They're gonna grill him. They are gonna give him an out and give him like things that they think that he should do in ways that they think that he can like win people's good graces back. But they are going to like they are going.
Did they ask him about why he was lying to people?
Yeah, they asked him.
What did he say?
He pretty much just said that once he did it one time, he was kind of locked into this. Like someone asked him, he derailed. He said something, and he convinced himself of why is this the topic of conversation? The real topic of conversation should be how many men die from suicide because they don't feel like they're man enough, and they don't have
And
all
so,
this confidence.
what do you think about that as the reason that he did it?
No, I mean, you listen to the thing, and he'll be humanized a little bit.
No,
I still
I
think.
heard his excuse. I heard the
But when he
apology
did
video, and it
when
was
the apology
so
video,
stupid.
but the apology video, he's reading off two scripts. It's not
So
authentic.
that's his fault.
Right. So when you're hearing him on a podcast where people are asking him questions, grilling him, and he has to on the spot have responses, you can either see through the bullshit, and you can. They made him eat a donut on live, so I think that's kind of like they're like, hey, because Andrew Schultz said, hey, so you like went on a bunch of podcasts and like made my friends eat balls.
Yeah.
So like I think it's only fair that you eat a donut. That you eat this processed food.
That's not fair. I think what they he right. So what we're saying is right. He created his own video, his own apology. He could set it up, edit it however he wanted, and what he came to the conclusion of was that I did this to somehow stop people from killing themselves. It just doesn't even I can't even mentally come up with how that makes sense.
Because he had a history of suicide in his life, of people killing themselves.
So what does that have to do with other people killing themselves?
Because it's a big statistic. Men kill themselves a lot more often, and the reason is because they don't feel like they're good enough.
What does him taking steroids fix for those people?
It gives them in my opinion, I would assume he would probably think that it gives them like a goal or something to look forward to.
But the goal is unattainable and you've lied to them.
No, I feel that.
And you sold them this.
I'm not a fan of the Liver King. Personally.
And you had them eating balls. Like, wouldn't you want to not, I don't know, do this anymore?
But if your life, let's say you had a clear life. So basically, so the idea is, all right, and this is, I'm about to play the mental gymnastics because you're making me, because I don't even support the Liver King like this, but what he's saying is if he knew what the medicine was, right? If he knew hey, yo, you need to take this medicine and it'll help you be better. It'll help you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And the medicine is maybe balls and liver, right? And these ancestral tenets to make you feel better about your life and live a better life, be healthier. And people would be like, why the fuck would I do that? And then they see him and they go, wait, he does it? Now, they don't know that it's unattainable and stuff, but they're like, wait, he does it. It's basically like putting your dog's medicine in cheese. You see this thing and you're like, yo, I could do that. And then you start doing the ancestral tenets, and you're not going to look like that, but you may feel better. You may be healthier. You may have a better outlook on life, and you may avoid killing yourself if you're already predisposed to these suicidal thoughts, depending on like what it is. Basically, he's getting these people to take the medicine. You're making me play devil's advocate because I don't really. I agree.
I get that. But what I'm saying is, I think if anything, like I would feel worse. Like if I'm working out and I'm doing what this person is telling me, and I'm not seeing the results that this person got, I would be more sad, and I would be more likely to give up on working out or on doing these things if, like, I thought that I could get it, and for some reason, like now I can't. Right?
Yeah, but what if like your just body's not set up like his?
But his body isn't set up like his. That's what I'm saying.
No, I know. So shouts out to the Liver King. We hope you bounce back. I don't know if you had any closing topics. If not, I think we got what we need. But you may have had another topic you want to talk about.
No. I think that's good. I think we should wrap it up. I like this.
All right. So once again, tell your Theos that we out here being reckless, speaking for them, speaking on behalf of them, and we out. Bye.
See ya.